Do you actually need a lot of light to make black skinned people pop on screen? The answer is
I know what you're thinking. You've seen this before. Maybe.
one of the most common misconceptions about lighting dark skinned people is that you need to add a lot of light so you can have their skin pop or for you to be able to see them on camera, which is very much untrue. In this video, I'll be showing you how to properly light a dark-skinned person for you to create that cinematic glow and to make their skin just pop, most especially with no lights. I'll be breaking down where your camera should be, what you should be looking out for, and just generally some of the tips I use when I'm exposing for dark skin tones. This is a PSA I shot with a friend of mine called Toba. He's got like beautiful dark skin tones, and the bulk of this film was shot with no lights. There's only one shot that I used a tube light just to fill the face, and I will show you in the tutorial. So that's enough talk. Let's jump into the video. I'll play the ungraded version for you just so you see what we're working with on the day. Then I would play the graded version. If you want to see this film, it's on my YouTube channel. I would link it up somewhere here.
I know what you're thinking. You've seen this before. Maybe.
Okay, so that's it. I'm not going to play everything. If you want to see this film, again, I've linked it in the description below so you can watch it. I'm going to show you now the color graded version. Then we'll jump into breaking down the scene and I will show you my lighting process.
I know what you're thinking. You've seen this before. Maybe.
Okay, that's enough. No cheating. I'm not going to show you everything. If you like to see it, it's on my YouTube channel. Let's start breaking it down and I'll show you the process and what I did. So this was shot on the Sony FS6. That's a camera I own. And that's what I shoot most of my work on. And it was shot with the Sigma 24-70. Again, that's what I use for most of my work. When I need to do client work, sometimes I hire, the lenses depending on what I'm trying to go for. But my everyday lens is the Sigma 24-70. Now, let's start with this scene. This is the first scene I'll be talking about in this film. And just to have an idea of what I was going for, I'm just going to draw on top of it. So this was a backlit scene and it was intentional to shoot into the sun because I wanted to get some silhouettes and to have his dark skin pop against the bright skin. And again, this is intentional because we're going for mood. We're going for a sense of loneliness and a sense of doom. So I wanted to keep him in the shadows, almost like he's there, but he's not there. So one key tip I will share with you is to always film on the dark side of the person you're filming. And this is not skin tone dependent. It doesn't depend on what race the person you're filming is. The best depth you can get from anyone or anything you're shooting is to film on the dark side. So what that means in essence is, if you look at the entire film, you would see that I am mostly on the shadow side of the person. So if you look here, for example, I'm on the shadow side of the character. So we'll get there. I just wanted to drop that tip quickly. Always shoot on the dark side of wherever you're filming, of your model, of your character. So let's break down the light quickly. So I used available lights. Again, there was no light on the face. The sun was raking in from here. It was hot here in the sun. Usually I would not film into the sun, but I wanted this glow because I wanted this shot to, because there was a movement in the shot. I wanted it to, it was blocking it in the beginning. Then I moved and I wanted to see the sun rays, these are the rays here. I wanted to see the sun rays just show into my shot. So that was what I was going for here. And it's simple lighting. Just make sure that you don't blow out the sky and then make sure that you keep some detail here. There are situations if you, for example, want to see more of the face, you can use like a reflector or a bounce to just give you some more feel on the face. But I didn't want that. I wanted the entire face. I wanted it in the shadows. And I made sure that my highlights were not too blown out. You can see like the sun here and the sun is just wrapping him here, eating him, here, and makes everything look good. Also, one other thing that I made sure that I prioritized was, his head against like bright highlights. So for dark skinned people, or for people generally, you want to separate them from the background. If you're filming them against somewhere that's the background is dark, you might want to put some light just backlight them and kind of kick them out of the background. So something to just highlight them. You can see some of the lights here. This is just happening naturally, but I saw that on camera and I saw that it looked good and I went for it. Also, this is supposed to be a silhouette, so even if I didn't get the backlight, I wouldn't have minded because the intention was to make sure my character stayed in the dark. Now that's just that. Let's go into like something maybe a bit more, something that will give you a bit more of an idea of choices. So I'll look at this shot, for example, and the same thing happened there. I was shooting on the dark side of my image. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a face. As long as whatever you're filming, if you want the best depth, then shoot on the dark side. And that's quite evident because if you look at this side of the shots, this is where the camera is staying. So let me draw, if I draw a top-down view, let's say I draw a top-down view. I saw this idea from these guys on YouTube, Tenford. So shout out to Tenford for always drawing things on the shots to do a breakdown. I think it's really cool. Okay, so this is my character here. It sat here, and I'm going to change. So let me say my camera is here. My drawings are horrible. Please forgive me. This is my camera, and my character is sitting there, and the sun is somewhere around here. The sun is here. The sun is breaking down from here, and you can see the sun. If you look at the hand here, you can see the sun here. So because I'm shooting on the opposite side of where the light is coming from, I'm shooting on the dark side of the person. It gives me the best depth possible. So I'm filming here and I'm capturing the dark side. So this is the bright side of the shot, and I'm here on this side of the line. If I was shooting from me, if I brought my camera, this camera, if I brought it to this side for any reason to shoot this way, then my shot will look flatter and it won't look as good. Especially for like a dark-skinned person, you want the best contrast possible. You want to see all the details, so you don't want to film on that side because the sun will be washing their face and everything will just look flat out. Even for me, for example, this is me shooting here now and I have a light coming on my face. This is front lit. This is not ideal. But when I turn this way, the camera starts to shoot on the dark side and it looks better. You guys can clearly, if you look at this, the camera is filming from my dark side. So this is my darker side because the light is coming from here. So the camera is filming on this side. When I face it this way, and the camera now is shooting on the same side as the light because the light is right here, then it looks horrible. I don't like it, but it's for tutorial, so we'll work with it. I'm just trying to show you what happens when you don't stay on the right side of the light. So that's how this shot was achieved. Nothing else. It was just straight out sun. There was no reflector. There was nothing. It was just the sun that was there. I think in the edit, I kind of brought, I put some level. I think I kind of drew a power window around it and I darkened the side a little bit more. But that's in the edits. I'm going to look at, let's look at what we shot. Let's look at the raw shots. If you look at the raw shots, we still have the dark side. It was filmed this way. So this was filmed in S-Log3 and the FS6. So you can see these are the shadows. So if you don't shoot these things, you can't really try to push them too much in post. So most people feel like you make your look in the edits. The best looks that you can get as a colorist is something that's been well shot. So if you film properly, if you light properly, and you bring it into the edits, then you can get better results. If you don't prioritize your lighting and your shooting and you want like great results in the edits, most of the times you'll be disappointed. So you can see how the light is working on the body. You can see this is the S-Log, just so you don't think it's about the grade. You can see the light here. And you can see how the light slowly falls off and it goes into the dark side. You can see there's some bounce back here. You can feel like maybe there's a reflector kicking back, but it's because of where we are. There's the floor. If I look at the shots, I'm sure that's coming from the floor. Yeah, that's coming from somewhere around here in the film. So the bounce back you're seeing is the sun. You can see, like I said, if you look at the location before we did the close-up, the sun is somewhere here in the sky. So because in this shot I wasn't going for a silhouette look, I made sure I did not show the sky. So that's another tip, because we're dealing with contrast here. If you're trying to film something that is dark, it doesn't even have to be like a dark skinned person. And you're filming against something that is white, which is why people usually don't film against white backgrounds. What you're doing is you're making it difficult for yourself to be able to achieve proper contrast. So if you want to get good exposure on a dark skinned person, you have to make sure that your exposure is on point, which means if I had filmed and I faced the sky, because the sun was right here, if I try to expose for the sun, that means I would darken and underexpose my skin tone. And that will make my character or my model look even way darker on camera. So the trick is I could have shot this from here. I could have moved here and shot this way. If I had done that, I would have seen the sun. So I came to this side, which is the dark side of the shot, very intentional. I made sure that I could see some of the sun, which is really nice, but I made sure that this tree here and the leaves was acting like my shade. It was basically blocking the sun while the light, because there's no tree here. If you notice, there's no tree in the middle here. So the light was coming in from here, lighting my guy, giving him the light that he needs. However, I don't have to deal with the sky because I can't see the sky. I can see small part of the sky, but the sun is right here. If I had seen the sun, I'll be dealing with a lot of overexposure problems. So that's another trick to like light people. Control your lights. Make sure that you don't just point your camera up just because it looks good. As you can see, everything is controlled. This is the colored version. See how that looks. See how the sky is being blocked by this leaf, by this tree. And that helps me. You can see how much light is coming. It's almost like I created my own negatives. When you're filming, you want to have like negative flags, or maybe you probably get like black wrap that you use to like shape light. So this is working for me for shape. So the tree right here is like a cutter. It's basically cutting the sun and making me not see the sky. But the sun is able to break through and light my character the way I want. You can see it backlighting him, and again kept him in the shadow. If this was a beauty shoot, I'll put a bounce board there that would just kick some light into his face. But because I wasn't going for that, I didn't want to intentionally see him too much. I wanted him, almost in the dark. This works for the film. And this is the thing about cinematography that most people don't understand. You don't have to follow the rules, because cinematography is about creating emotion. So if you're trying to create an emotion, as long as what you're doing helps your story, then you're good. If I kept this person properly lit, which I could have done, all I had to do was put a bounce in front of him, then it would look too glamorous. Then it wouldn't look like what he's feeling. This person is going through stuff, so they're not supposed to look very glamorous. They're not supposed to look like it's a commercial. We're not going for that look, right? That doesn't mean you have to underexpose them, right? It's still shot properly. However, I wasn't going for something that would look too pristine. I didn't want to overlight him. I could have gone out with some of my lights, but I didn't want to do none of that. I just went out with one tube light, my camera, my backpack, and a bicycle. Done. So that's how we made this happen. In case we have not met, my name is Tissent. I'm a cinematographer, I'm a colorist, and most especially, I am a lazy filmmaker. On this channel, I help you become better at cinematography, lighting, and coloring. If there's anything you take from this video, it's the fact that you don't need to overlight people to make them look great. So I'm going to jump to the next scene now, just to show you some other interesting bits about lighting. Then I will show you some behind the scene photos. So this is one of my favorite shots in the film. If I show you what that looks like without the grade, this was what it looked like without the grade. And from here, you can already see what I was doing. The same thing that I've been talking about. Always stay on the shadow side. So let me do a top-down view and show you what this looks like in relation to what my character is. So let's say it's here. It's right here in the middle, okay? And he's looking this way. Yeah, that makes sense. He's here, he's looking this way. Or better still, let me make him look this way. Okay, he's standing here and he's looking this way. Then the sun is here in the sky. The sun is here in the sky. And the sun is coming down and shining on him. And because of that, the sun is basically hitting him on this side of the face. So what I've done is I've stayed intentionally on the other side of the sun, not necessarily like directly opposite it. Again, you can see I made sure I didn't see any sky, so the camera was raised up and I was shooting in the way that I didn't see any of the sky, because if I shot the sky will be bright and I'll have to deal with that. So the camera stayed here and shot towards this direction. So what that does is it gives me some highlight on his face from the sun. You can see this highlight as on his face. You can see this light here. That's the light coming from the sun. And I think another thing to point out is the time of day was very essential. So if I shot this at high noon, let's say around 12 o'clock. So if the sun was here and was shining down on him, it would be a different look entirely. What would happen is everywhere here will be bright and it might cast shadows under his eyes and under his nose and under his jaw, and it might look ugly, you know. So you don't want to shoot at that time of the day. I waited till around 4 p.m. when the sun was low in the sky and the sun had come from just directly on top and it had come to somewhere like this, okay? So that the sun would be lighting him and giving me some frontal light instead of a top light, which if I had to use a top light, it would complicate things and I would have to diffuse it and soften it, and it was just two of us on the shoot. So these are the ways that you can understand lighting and then make it work to your advantage. So I waited for the sun to come down. We didn't start shooting until like 4 p.m. and it was summertime in the UK, so it was fine. You can't do that during winter because by 4 you'd have lost most of the sun, or all the sun. It would be dark already. So that was shining here, and then the camera was just on this side and it was shooting in this way. So you can see that that is happening, and then we've got some very nice shadows on this side of the face, which creates the depth. Also here you can see the sun hitting in here, and then you can see the shadow on this side of the body. If I had time and I wanted to go an extra mile, what I would have done is to find a a reflector and bounce some light coming from here back to his to his back to highlight him here. But I didn't want to do that. If this was a commercial or like a fashion project, I would bring out a reflector and put some light here just to like separate him from the background. So that light will probably be here and it will shine like this. Also not in front. It has to come from behind him, around here, just off, off screen. Because if you keep it close to where the camera is around here, then it will be shining on him from the front and it becomes front lit. And we don't want that. We want to always light and shoot from the dark side of where our light is coming from. Okay? I hope that's clear and that's helpful. This was a BTS of when we shot that scene, this one. So this is the BTS of that. I'm always scared when I put my camera on that tripod because I feel like it would fall. But it's not falling before, so I guess I'm safe. So that's this. Let me put it on the timeline so you can see it. So if you can see what that looks like, that's the FS6 with my 24-70. And like I described before, you can see here that the sun is somewhere here in the sky. You can see the sun here. And the sun was just shining on him on this side. This was nice, but I wanted him to face the sun to get more wrap. So I told him to turn to the side. And that just looks way better at the end of the day. If you look at the lights, you see how the lights was wrapping him here. And that looked good. That's a good shot. But the minute it turned and faced the lights, it was even better. So there are some things that are non-negotiables. There are some things that you don't have any control over. And those are things like skies and stuff. So you have to like balance your camera for the things you can't control. You can't turn down the sky. You can't turn down the sun in the sky. So you've got to balance your camera for those things. Then just try to augment your light. So that's this. In the next videos, you'll be seeing how I made this color. It's quite easy, but this was the look I finally ended up with after grading. And you can see all the decisions I made and how they paid off. One of the things I also did intentionally was choose this color of top he was wearing. I was very particular about him wearing this just so it can look and stand out from the background. You can see that it stands out. He was wearing blue and then the background is green. So that makes him stand out. So that's another thing that helps you to like make your skin tone pop. The choice of dressing, the choice of wardrobe. What are you wearing? If you're wearing stuff like red might conflict with your skin tone because the skin plays around the reds. So if you're intentional about what the character is wearing, it also helps you. Because I had good highlights in the face, I had enough highlights. You can see the sun. I didn't overexpose. I just made it enough to show details. And you can see, you can look at all the details on his face and how that is helping. See here, see the sun. You see how the sun is forming this nice V under the eye, which is a Rembrandt lighting. And you can see how the light is working. Just here also, see how the light is really, really working and doing a lot of helping us to really get a good look on the film. What I did here was simple. I just changed the hue of this to something reddish because I wanted it to look surreal. I didn't want it to look like it was in the real world for this particular scene. So it was quite easy, but a tutorial of how I achieved that will be on my channel in coming days. Yes, that's it. The skin tone, nothing special that I did. If you shoot properly and you make sure you don't overexpose or underexpose your skin tone, I think that's the most important thing for dark skin tones. Make sure you don't overexpose it, because if you overexpose it, then you will not be able to get details back. And don't underexpose too much unless that's the look you're going for, just like I did for the silhouette scene. So that's this one. I really love how it came out. And yes, so let's move on to one more shot. So in the beginning, I told you that I only lit one shot, that there's only one shot that I used the light on, and that's this shot. Every other shot had no light. It was the only shot in the film that had a light, and the light was a tube light. So I'll show you. So the reason why we used that light was because it was dark. There was no more light here. I wanted the ambient light, but I wanted his face to carry emotion because this was one of the shots where he looked straight at the camera and I wanted to see emotion. Problem I would have if I exposed with that light is it would be so dark that you will not be able to see the expressions in his eyes. And I really wanted his eyes to pop. All I did was to bring a tube light and I just made it vertical like this. I was the one holding the camera at the same time, so just put the tube light in front of his face, and that's why you can see, if you look at his eyeballs, you can see the shape of the light there. You can see the shape of the light in his eyes. It's just a tube light, nothing else, and it just really helps to like bring out the details in the eyes. If I didn't put an highlight in his eyes, then it would fall into like pitch black, and then it won't look as interesting as this shot finally came out to look. I'm going to show you the finished version now to see what that looks like. So that's what that looked like. And I graded it to get cooler, to look this way, because I was going for, if you guys know the inspiration behind this look, especially the opening look, let me know, drop it to the comment section. Where do you think, or what do you think is a reference for this? What inspired this look? It's a popular movie, and I feel like every filmmaker probably has seen it. Anyway, so this is the last one I'll be showing you, and this is just a close-up of the other shot that we've shown before now, just to see what's happening here. The same thing is happening. If I do a top-down view, I'm going to draw a top-down again. This is our top-down. Oh, my hand is just weird. I can't draw to save my soul. So these are top-down. We have our character here. These are his eyes. It's just going like this. And he's looking this way, right? And then we have the sun somewhere around there, and it's backlighting him. You know, the sun is backlighting him. So you can see the sun on his face. If you look here, this is entirely the sun. So all I did was to expose for the sun, nothing more. This is the sun, and I allowed this other side of his face to fall in the shadows. And that's the side of the face where I put my camera. You know, if I put my camera on this side, it won't look great because it will be flat. So my camera was shooting from here. So this is my camera, here, here, here. And it was shooting this way. So that's what gives you. And you can see I didn't use an highlight in this shot. I didn't use any light in front of him. If I wanted to, just because this particular scene, if you've seen the movie, this character was in a place where they feel lost. Putting an highlight there would kind of make them look a bit more glamorous. I didn't want that. I wanted the eyes to be void, to not have any emotions. So that's what I went for. And yeah, that's the look. Nothing out of place, nothing crazy. This was all shot with available light. There was nothing here that was shot with any big light or reflectors or diffusers. Nope, I didn't do any of that. I just used available light and make sure that I was watching my ratios. You can see the background, very intentional about how much the level is. Also, if you look at his hair, because he has like blonde hair, he dyed his hair blonde. If you don't pay attention to this, you would overexpose it. I always tell beginners that one of the things that will make your work look bad is overexposure. Underexposure, sometimes you can say, yeah, it's a look, but when you overexpose, it just shows that you don't understand your camera or you don't understand lighting. So if you're just starting out and you're new to this, prioritize protecting your highlights, and your highlights will come from things like the sky, come from maybe like some bright points on the leaf. If you're shooting inside a house, it will come from the walls. Maybe you have a light and you're bouncing your lights. If you look at my setup, for example, so I'm going to show you what overexposure will look like if I raise the lights in my background. So if I raise the lights in my background right now, you can see like a spot on the wall is overexposed. So if I don't do that, if I don't bring it down to a level where things are balanced, then it just looks overexposed and it just looks amateurish. I don't even know if I'm overexposed right now, but you guys get the point. You maybe do it. So yeah, that's it. Let me see if there's any one more I can show you just to do a little breakdown, just so you can have an idea that you don't need a lot of light to make good shots. That's all I'm trying to say here, and I hope that's what I'm communicating. You do not need a lot of light to make your film look good. If you look at this also, the same principle was done here. I was shooting on the dark side. I kept him kind of dodged angle, when you make your camera look, stay in an obscure, like, balance. Yeah, so it's out of balance. Person is standing, but the shot looks out of balance. And that just kind of sells his psychological like state of mind. What he's feeling in the moment, how is he feeling? Yeah, see what I was saying about exposing and protecting your highlights. The sun, which is not an ideal thing unless you're going for that shot. The sun was right here. Okay? And what happens when you shoot into the sun is simple. The brightest part of a shot is where the eyes go to directly. So if you have a shot that is overexposed at some point, naturally the human eye would be guided to that bright point because that's the part that's drawing attention. And that's what I use to my advantage here. I could have exposed this properly. If I had shot this thing against the sky here, it would have looked good and nice. But I didn't want that. I wasn't going for that. I was going for a silhouette. So I shot against the sun, which is something that I don't advise usually. But that's why I say you can break the rules if you know what you're doing. I shot against the sun and I kept my character right there where the sun is. For two things. One, it creates a glow around his head. Two, because I know that the brightest point of a shot is where your eyes will go to. It makes you go to that point immediately you see the shot. And it works. Every time you see the shot, your eyes go to that point, and then you see our character looking lost, looking into the sky. So that's what that scene was for. And follow up with that is this close up. And you can see how that looks. It was looking up again. This is me breaking down. I'm talking about cinematography, lighting, and choice of colors and everything in this video. So this is not necessarily like a lighting tutorial. This is just you understanding what makes people look good, what makes their shot look good, most especially for dark-skinned people, how you can really bring the cinematic version of them out. Cinematic version of them, what does that even mean? So if you look at this, there's a glow at the back of his head, which is the sun. I exposed for it. It was blown at just a tiny bit, because there's no way I would bring this down to a level where it won't be exposed and I will see details here. If I brought it down, my exposure down, I will lose all the details on the face. I wanted some details on the face. You can still see some, enough details. You can see like some lights here. You can see his eyes. It's not totally in the dark, if you zoom in, you can see. It's still got details. Lots of good details, right? So that was my compromise. I wanted a look, so I went for the look, and I committed to the look. So the reason why this shot looks this way, for example, when I play it, it goes from down and rotates here. So let me play that for you. That's also like psychological. That's also psychological because I had him looking up, looking to hope, looking to what's coming. Then in that same shot, we see him give up, and you can see the camera basically following him from someone almost looking up for hope, and then he gives up and he looks down, and we see his state of mind change from someone that had hope and someone that now does not have hope, and then we continue from there, seeing him in a depressed face. Okay, so that's basically how you light dark-skinned people. All these shots were shot with no light. The trick with this is something you will see in the next video. So in this video, I just really wanted you to see what was going on. But in reality, this shot wasn't shot as dark. So this shot was shot, it was shot early. It was shot like late. There was still light in the sky. It was late afternoon. But in the next video, I will show you how you can take stuff like this and turn it to like night, make it look like believable night. All this was shot, all these things you're seeing, except this one that had to light. This was shot at night because we lost the light. But every other thing in this frame, if I look at this, for example, this was shot. It was fairly light. It wasn't as dark as what it looks like in the final grade. And this was shot way earlier than every other one. So this was shot like there was still light in the sky. You can see the light on his body. So in the next video, I'll be showing you how I achieved this look, the grading technique, and most especially the shooting technique, because there's a trick to shooting this. If you don't shoot it correctly, then it will look fake. I feel like a lot of people that have seen this would hardly believe that it was shot during the day. So I'm going to jump in and show you some of the things, some of the shots in the BTS, just to see how things went down. So this was where we shot at. This was where I was just doing recce, and I use CADRAGE. You guys should use. I don't know if you guys know about CADRAGE. It's an app I use on my phone, and I take it out on my location scouting to. Instead of taking a camera out, I use CADRAGE, and I think it's paid for, but it's quite cheap, so it's something you can buy. It's a one-off payment, but I use this every other time to take photos, and I just imagine like I'm using my camera. The great part about CADRAGE is you can put your camera settings. So like, for example, here I set everything to Sony FS6, my frame, my dimension or resolution. I told you what lens I'll be using, and then I can use my phone, and my phone will pretend that it's the camera. So that shows me what I'm filming. If you look at some of the shots, so this frame, for example, this bridge is the one I shot from here, just have an idea. But when I shot some things like this, but when I go into the edit, I chose the other one instead. So this is the bridge, yeah. So that's the shot, and this is the finished one. So it gives you a sense of what you're framing, at what shot size should you put it, because if you zoom in your camera on your phone, then it would take all those details and record that. So if you guys don't use CADRAGE already, start using CADRAGE. Also, I went with a friend of mine, he's a fellow cyclist, and we went there and we just took pictures even before I went to shoot. So I took a picture of what I was going to be filming and what I wanted the frame to look like, and just have an idea of where I will put my camera, how much, how high it needs to be on the tripod. It just saves you time. Instead of bringing out your camera to a place, you go with your phone and do like your location scout, and pre-production is always important. So that's the same shot here. So this was a shot finally with the actor, but when we were doing location scouts, that's what we got. So just a couple of other things. So this is another one. This was a video. So you can also do videos and photos. So you can see at the end of the day, it shows you like the information, 24 mm, and all the details you need to know, just so you can store that somewhere. And when you need to, when you need to like reference it, you can reference it. The worst thing you want to do is to turn up on a set that you have not tested out or checked out, and then just start shooting and start figuring it out. For a shoot like this where I had no time, I didn't have the manpower, it was just myself and the actor, everything needed to be pre-planned. So this was the under bridge where I shot this part, this one. So this was where I shot that. That was me checking out what it looked like, and I checked out what it looked like. I wanted to shoot something like this also, just to see the character being lost, but we didn't have that time, so I didn't bother to do it eventually. But this would have been a good shot. Also, one of the things I try to do is not to shoot everything I have in mind to shoot, just because you can always use that for another shoot. So I don't try to shoot every idea that comes to my head, like in terms of angles. This is another angle that I was filming. So this allows you to experiment. I was deciding what my wides will look like. And that was for majorly the opening scene, because the opening scene was my concern, knowing fully well that I was going to be shooting day for night. I think that was me. This is me on my bicycle. That's me on my bicycle. I had a flat tire on the day, I think. So, yeah, what else? And that's my bicycle and me. You can see it's simple, nothing crazy. So this is how we shot the opening scene. You can see that it was relatively bright, wasn't as dark as the finished product. And then same camera, same, film the tripod, and then I tell him to go forward. We've already kept a mark on the floor. Then it goes, and that's the shots. I think I have the next shots. So I did a second take. And because we can't see, anything underneath. Fun fact, we shot 2 videos on this day, and that's why you see him wearing this track, because in the other one, this is what he was wearing. So since we're only seeing his bottom, we just didn't bother to change. Again, it was just 2 of us, so we had to just make it work. So that's the shots, and then you see when it starts to pull it off now. The idea was to make it look like it was, it was naked. So careful framing. But what am I saying with this shot? I was still very particular about the light, shooting from the dark side also. You can see, if you look at his body, even here, you can see it's highlighted. The light is coming from the sky here. So I kept my camera on the dark side, basically. So here is darker than the front of him. So it's shooting on the dark side will always give you the best contrast. And this was the poster for the film. And this was taken from a frame also from the film. So yeah, you can see the details is right there. I kept this highlights there intentionally also, just so everything doesn't look flat. Just makes just an extra pop on the water. It was coming from one of the lights on the bridge. So the trick to lighting dark skin tones is to make sure that you're not in a situation where you are forced to start pushing your exposure down. If you have something too bright in your shot and you have to start making your exposure go down, you're most likely going to expose the skin tone. So the trick is to make sure you can control things to a level. If you can't control it, you have to make it work to your advantage. For example, the way I use the trees to block the sun, or the way I shot and I told my guy to face the sun, so that I can have like that light on his face, just the lights, like the details on his face, and I was filming from the dark side. It's very, very little things that makes this thing work. And as you can see in all the examples I showed you, there was no part of me where I was bringing out HMI lights, bringing all the lights available in my toolkit and blasting it on him. If I had done that, it would have looked horrible. You do not need a lot of light. What you need is soft light, big source of light, which is like the sun. And when I say soft light, it means the sun, but not sun in the middle of the day, which is most times not soft at all. It's usually harsh and hard. If you want the best quality of light, you want to shoot towards the evening when the sun is just going to rest, when the sun is setting, when it's low in the sky, the sun is beautiful, it looks warmer, it looks softer. And most of the time, it's just perfect on skin tones, especially darker skin tones. I'm someone that likes to shoot with minimal lighting. I just love to challenge myself to light with what's available. When I've got light, yes, but sometimes when I'm doing my own personal like spec projects, I just look at the sky, make it work. Or sometimes I just use tube lights, make it work. I feel like lighting sometimes complicates the art of cinematography. And I think when you have too much, then it becomes a problem of trying to cut down. I hope this tutorial was helpful. I hope you've learned something. And I sincerely do hope that from today, you stop putting all the lights and blasting it on people just because you want them to be bright. I just did a rhyme there. All the lights to be bright. If you love this video, please consider subscribing. Drop a comment. I really want to know where you're watching from. This channel is fairly young and new, so I'm trying to connect with you. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know the kind of things you like to shoot, the kind of stuff you like to light. In the next video, I'll be showing you the day for night technique that I used to make the opening scene in this film look like it was shot at night. I'm sure you like to see that. Don't stop watching my videos. Until the next one, stay coloring. Take care of yourself.